The room was dry, tense, paper shuffles, pen clicks, murmurs sliding under breath. The Congressional Subcommittee on Education had dragged into hour 3. Too long, too personal. At the center of it, Representative Jasmine Crockett, calm, sharp, in a cobalt blazer, waiting. Not silent because she had nothing to say. She was choosing the moment. Across from her sat Karoline Leavitt, former cable news regular, now a senior aide on federal education reform, sharp, defensive, and visibly irritated at being challenged by a black woman who didn't blink. When Jasmine finally spoke, it cut clean. Jasmine, evenly. So what you're suggesting is that underserved schools just aren't trying hard enough? Karoline crossed her arms, shifted in her seat. Karoline's standards have to be enforced across the board. No exceptions, Jasmine, but the board was never level. Fairness means nothing without access. Context matters. History matters. Karoline scoffed, not loud. But her mic was on. She leaned slightly, not into it, but close enough. Then came the words. She should just go back to Africa. Flat, crisp, broadcast live on C-SPAN, unmistakable. A beat of silence, then a cough. A creaking chair. A young black intern near the media table froze mid-motion. Eyes wide, turning. Cameras caught it all. Karoline didn't flinch. She sipped her water like nothing happened. But her ears were burning red. She knew. The mic had caught everything. The chairman cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation. Back. Let's stay on topic, please. But the damage had landed. Jasmine didn't move, didn't rise, didn't fire back. She simply looked at Karoline. No anger, no tears. Just a stillness that cut deeper than rage. It was the kind of look that said, "You think you wounded me? All you did was reveal yourself." She turned back to her notepad, made a single, quiet note. Let the session roll on. 10 seconds. No speech. But America was listening. In Twitter minutes later, the clip was online before the hearing even adjourned. Phone footage zoomed in, captions added. Go back to Africa was trending within 20 minutes. Memes, hashtags, reaction, videos analyzed, paused, replayed, again and again. In the hallway outside hearing or Karoline stormed out with her aide. Brian tight at her side. Brian low, say it was misheard. Blame background noise. We need a statement now. Karoline clipped, I mumbled. No one knows exactly what I said, but she was wrong. Everyone knew. There was a pause. A weight in her voice. The kind you can't spin. She pulled out her phone, buzzing. Texts from party leaders, donors, media contacts. Few sympathetic, most warning her to get ahead of it. No one defending her. Int. Press room, moments later statement dropped. Miss Leavitt was misquoted due to background noise. She stands firmly against all forms of racism. Too late. The public wasn't just angry. They were exhausted. Another slur. Another denial. Another PR scrub. Ext. Capitol hallway elevator bay. LATR reporters chased Jasmine, flashing lights. Shouted questions. Reporter Congresswoman, any response to Miss Leavitt? She pressed the elevator button. Waited. Jasmine. Quiet. Firm. Not. Yet. And that yet? It sent a ripple through the country. It lit up both sides. Supporters called it graceful restraint. Critics called it calculated theater. But everyone was watching. In DC Cafe. An IGHT3 staffers huddled around a laptop in the corner booth, eyes locked on the clip playing again. Again. The oldest, a middle-aged white man with sagging eyelids and a half-drained coffee, rubbed his temples. Staffer number 1, low, this is gonna go nuclear. Staffer number 2, if she speaks ... Staffer number 3, she will. She has to. But Jasmine Crockett wasn't rushing. In hotel room and IG too far from the cameras. Jasmine sat beside her mother. Dinner between them had gone cold. Neither touched it. Her mother, in from Texarkana, finally broke the silence. Mother. You're gonna say something, baby. Jasmine looked out the window. Clouds hung low over DC. City lights flickering beneath. Jasmine, yeah, beat. But it won't be what they're expecting. In Karoline's hotel, IGHT Karoline Leavitt sat stiff. On the edge of her bed, laptop open. Cable news looped the clip like a courtroom exhibit. Every channel. Every hour. Her phone buzzed with calls from donors, consultants, former friends, some urging silence. Others demanding an apology. She barely blinked. Karoline, she misheard me. Brian, seated across the room, said nothing, just stared, not judging. Just, scared, because this wasn't just about Karoline's career anymore. This moment had transcended both women, and Karoline was only just realizing. She didn't own the narrative anymore. Int. Capitol cafeteria, the next morning. A strange hush blanketed the air. Reporters lingered near the press room, sipping burnt coffee, tapping restless thumbs against phones. Cords snaked across the floor like nerves. Something was coming. They could feel it. Int. Capitol Press Room, 10 a.m. Jasmine. Crockett stepped up to the podium, alone, no staff. No flags, no fanfare, just a black folder in her hand and that same quiet power she held yesterday. She waited. A moment, not long. Just enough to command silence, then she opened the folder, glanced once, and closed it. Jasmine, I was going to read something prepared. But I don't think I need to, leans in slightly. What happened yesterday wasn't new to me. No tremble in her voice. No theatrics. Just presence. Measured truth, Jasmine, conned. I've been told to go back since I was a teenager. Once in a grocery line in Shreveport, an older woman didn't like how I looked her in the eye. I've heard it in airports and elevators. Even in boardrooms, though it's dressed up a bit in there. So no, I wasn't shocked, beat. What shocked me was that some people expected me to be, that they acted like this was an anomaly. Like this country usually runs on respect, and this was some glitch. That's not the country I've known. Silence swallowed the room. Not a single camera click. Reporters leaned in, barely breathing. Jasmine, conned. When you tell someone to go back, you're not questioning their citizenship. You're questioning their belonging, their worth. Their right to be in the room, direct to camera, and I'm not going anywhere. There it was. The line, clipped, powerful, already flying through timelines, WhatsApp threads, dorm rooms, barbershops, reaching people who'd never heard her name, but recognized her voice. Jasmine, conned. 1 year, my father brought me to Washington, D.C. We stood outside the Supreme Court. He looked up and said, "This building belongs to you too." I was 11. I didn't believe him. Some days I still don't. Soft breath, but I came here anyway. I ran anyway. I speak anyway, not because I was invited, but because I know I don't need permission. Her words weren't polished. Not in the speechwriter way. They were too raw, too lived in. Truth that hadn't been filtered for approval. Jasmine. Contend, I'm not here to shame Karoline Leavitt. I'm here to remind anyone watching. Belonging doesn't have to be earned with perfection. We belong because we're human. Cut to black. The echo of her words still hanging in the air. Because we wake up here, we fight here. We build here, we love here. We belong because our ancestors made it so. They did the work. Back when this place barely made room for their breath, she paused, letting the silence settle, before continuing. If that truth makes someone uncomfortable enough to say what she said, maybe that discomfort isn't mine to carry? Maybe it's theirs to sit with. The press conference ended, no questions. She closed her folder, stepped down from the podium, and walked away, like someone with better things to do than argue. And she did. Her phone rang seconds later, people crying, people cheering, even those across the aisle texting. You said what I've never been able to say, but not everyone clapped. Some were already preparing the backlash. A backlash that would test exactly what Jasmine Crockett stood for. By noon, her words had gone viral, clipped, shared, replayed, not because people missed them, but because they needed to feel them again. Across the country, the reaction wasn't performative. Not slogans, not hashtags, it came in stories. In voices. At a diner outside Toledo, an older black man named Reggie leaned over his coffee and said, "Didn't know her name before, but that woman's got steel in her spine." In Flagstaff, Arizona, a Navajo high school teacher stopped mid-lesson, played the video in silence, and told her students, "That's how you stand when they try to cut you down." In Fresno, California, A retired white veteran broke a year-long silence on Facebook with a single post. She spoke for more than just herself, but the backlash came fast. Conservative radio host called it grandstanding, an orchestrated play for victimhood. Some listeners agreed. Others pushed back. She didn't throw a fit, one caller said. She told the truth. You don't like how it sounds? Ask yourself why. Karoline Leavitt, meanwhile, said nothing. Her team released a carefully polished statement full of regret, but empty of responsibility. It backfired. That night, Karoline paced alone in a townhouse in Arlington, watching the clip again. Jasmine's poise, her fire, her restraint. She's winning this, she whispered. Her aide didn't argue. You can't spin your way out of this, he said. Karoline answered softly. I didn't mean it, it just slipped. He didn't let her off the hook. That's the problem. The moment kept growing. At a college in Madison, Wisconsin, a panel discussion turned into a forum on identity and belonging. At a barbershop in Mobile, Alabama, men paused mid-cut to talk about grace under fire. One said, "Back in my day, you got loud or swung." She did neither. That takes more strength than people know. But even Jasmine felt the weight. Alone in her apartment, glass of water in hand, lights low, she didn't turn on the news. She didn't want her name filtered through voices who never carried the silence she held that day. Then came a message. Senator Leah Drummond, Texas conservative. That was powerful. Would you meet? Jasmine stared at her screen, not surprised. Just aware her words had moved something. And now, people who'd never sat across from her wanted to, but one person still hadn't spoken. Then came the hearing. The Kansas state capitol was dry, thick with tension. The education subcommittee was dragging, tempers flaring. Jasmine Crockett, blue blazer, steady posture, waited, chose her moment. She always did. Across from her, Karoline Leavitt. Sharp, ambitious, uneasy. So what you're saying, Jasmine asked, is that underserved schools just aren't trying hard enough? Karoline stiffened. I'm saying standards should apply to everyone, no exceptions. But the board was never level, Jasmine replied. You can't talk fairness without talking access, context, history, Karoline scoffed. Her mic was still hot. She muttered just off mic, but not far enough. She should just go back to Africa. The silence hit sharp. A paper rustled. Cough, and then the room heard it. So did C-span. Jasmine didn't flinch, didn't storm out. She just sat, hands folded. Eyes steady. The subcommittee chair cleared his throat. Let's stay on topic. Karoline reached for her water bottle, trying to look unfazed. But her ears flushed red. She knew the mic had caught it. The country had heard. Jasmine blinked once, made a quiet note, and let the hearing continue. She didn't need to say anything. The moment said everything. The clip spread. Barbershops, dorm rooms, cabs, coffee counters. The nation didn't just see it, they felt it. It wasn't about shouting. It was about standing still when the floor shook, some said Jasmine's. Restraint was a masterclass. Others thought she let Karoline off too easy. A civil rights activist in Birmingham went live. It's not just about what she said. It's about what gave her permission to say it. Back in her office, Jasmine read through hundreds of handwritten letters. One stuck, from a fifth-grade girl in Boise. A drawing of Jasmine at a podium with the words, "You talk like my mom." Calm but strong. That one stayed on her desk, but Jasmine knew, praise fades, virality isn't the goal. Consistency is. To her interns, she said, don't aim to go viral. Aim to go forward. Meanwhile, Karoline wasn't doing press. No podcast tour, no media blitz. Just meetings, quiet ones, listening ones. In Columbus, a student asked, "What changed you?" Karoline answered, "Getting caught didn't change me. Getting challenged did. And I'm still learning what that means." Later that fall, a bill on school funding passed. Jasmine co-sponsored it. Karoline supported it. No photo op. No press, but they voted the same way. It didn't trend. But it mattered because this wasn't just about a comment. It was about character. Jasmine didn't walk away more famous, but her voice carried more weight. And Karoline, she didn't become a villain. She became a mirror. How many of us have whispered things in the dark we'd never say in the light? This wasn't a scandal story. It was a choice story. A story about speaking without shouting, correcting without humiliating, holding steady in a shaking room. Jasmine didn't rise by outshouting anyone. She rose by refusing to shrink. Some moments fade. This one stuck. Because strength without cruelty? That's what people remember? And maybe that's the lesson. You don't need to yell to leave a mark. You just need to tell the truth when it counts most. If this story moved you, share it. And if you want more stories about who we are and who we're becoming, subscribe. We're just getting started.